to New York. So my theater students and I, a few years ago, we took a trip to New York, and it was amazing. We got to go to Broadway musicals. We got to go to off-Broadway musicals. We got to go to the Saturday Night Live studio. We got to go to what is it called? The Tone, where they film the Tony Awards, the Rockefeller Plaza and the Center. We just did everything. I mean, we crammed it in. We were up until like 6 a.m. until like 2 a.m. in the morning because we were just so busy doing everything. And we got to work with some actors professionally. We got to do some filming on the Today Show, like in their green screen of their news. And it was just awesome. Yes, we were in the SNL studio, but nobody was acting at the time. But we just got to go see the studio. We also got to see Dr. Oz's studio, which may be cool for some people, like the old people like me. And then we got to see just a ton of stuff that are the sites, like the Statue of Liberty and all of those really cool sites of New York. And I want to go again, guys. So maybe you guys will be going here in a couple years when we can travel again, right? I would love to take another group because it's just an amazing experience. And I've done that a few times with my theater students. And it is just something that I can't even describe it because it's just so fun. So that's the item that represents me. It's because of my theater background and how I just enjoy working with you guys. Okay, now, so we're gonna go to Cadence. And then after Cadence, Gareth, we'll have Gareth go. So Cadence, unmic here first. Make sure your mic's working. We'll give her a second. It takes a little time to unmute and mute and all that.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. Wait. Can we hear you? Wait. Talk, Cadence, talk. You're muted again.
I am?
Oh, no, you're good. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So me and my mom took a trip to Disneyland, and I have a huge billboard of a bunch.
Uh-oh, we lost Cadence. Where'd she go? Ah, Cadence, she's gone. Okay, well, she'll come back, I'm sure. Gareth, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Gareth. Are you ready?
Yeah. So
Gareth, can you turn your camera on?
Says my camera's on.
Okay.
The camera lens is on the bottom of the braille note, so you can't really see anything.
Okay. Well, Gareth, I can't see your face, but I'm gonna imagine. So will you tell us about your item?
My item that represents probably be my recorder because I love recording stuff and messing around with sound.
Okay, and Gareth, can you talk a tiny bit louder? Do you have a theater experience?
Not really.
Okay. That's fine. All right, thanks, Gareth, for sharing. All right, we'll see if Cadence comes back to us. She got kicked out somehow. How about Rhea? I see you're ready. Well, you look ready.
Yeah, so I don't have much, but when I was like 7, I was in the Wizard of Oz, and I was the Wizard of Oz because I was the shyest kid, and I was hidden half the time. So this was the head. It's very old, and a bunch of 7-year-olds made it, but we still have it.
I see that. That's kind of scary looking.
Yep.
All right, nice. Okay, thank you. Cadence, you're back. It looks like Cadence is back. Let's see. Are you ready now, Cadence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I said the whole thing, but I think we lost connection.
We did.
Okay. But I have a huge billboard of when I went to Disneyland with my mom. It flew plane. And yeah, this billboard has a bunch of pictures of me and her at Disney. We rode on a bunch of rides like California Screamin', which they turned into the Incredible ride. Yeah, we went on to a bunch of rides, and it was really fun.
What was your favorite ride, Cadence?
Probably the California Screamin'.
Is that the one where they drop you down?
I think so. It's
okay.
Now it's the Incredibles ride, but
Okay.
yeah.
Those scare me. Okay, nice. Thank you, Cadence. I'm glad we got you back. How about Pierce? You ready, Pierce? I'm ready when you are, Pierce.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I have two things. Or do
That's
I just
awesome.
jump
Go
in?
ahead.
Okay. So first, I like to do art, so I have a big marker box. And then I also like to play video games. So that's all.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Pierce. Let's go to Abby. Are you here, Abby? I don't think Abby's here. She might not be in the class anymore. How about Felix? Felix, I see you.
Hello.
Hi. So
Okay,
tell us about your object.
So this is my child, essentially. Yeah, that's really it.
Tell us more. Do you play it? What? It's just your
Yeah.
child? Or? Okay,
Yes,
you play
I
it?
play
Musical? Do you sing?
Quite the much so. It's really all to it. It's
Okay.
just I play it.
Okay.
Quite neat.
Is that your art in the back that you do?
No.
I was just curious because it's kind of cool. Okay, next
Thanks.
we're gonna go to Jackson. Are you here, Jackson? Oh yeah, you're right there on my screen. Okay, Jackson, you can share whenever you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I just brought a couple of my colored pencils because I love drawing.
Okay. Are you taking art this year?
No.
Not yet? Okay. Awesome. We need a lot of artistic people in this class. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph, you ready?
Okay, so for acting, I like costumes because like that's kind of what I'm wearing is a costume because I like costumes. But sometimes when I was younger, when I was acting, like I have anxiety. So before one time when I was doing when I was doing an Annie play, I was just really scared because I never did it. I just was just so scared because it was in front of like 1,000 people or more, but when I started it, I wasn't nervous because it was just so fun. And my friend, I think her name was Josie. Well, the sad thing was she tried to do like a cartwheel or something, and she broke her leg.
Oh.
So before she couldn't be in the play.
Wow. Okay. That's an interesting story. I've had things like that happen. They do. Okay, let's go to Julian.
So this is just a poster I got about a year ago. It's a Russell Wilson signed poster that I got from my birthday, and I love it dearly, and it hangs in my room all the time. So yeah.
Awesome. Are you a football player?
No.
No?
I just like watching it and stuff.
Okay. Awesome. All right, how about we go to Cruz? Where you at, Cruz? I hear you.
Oops, sorry.
Camera?
I kept muting it.
Okay.
I actually don't have anything because I left it at my dad's house, but what I was going to share was a picture of me and my best friend.
Okay. And tell us about your best friend. You like hanging out with him or what?
Yeah, she's really funny.
Oh, okay. And does she go to North too?
No, she moved away.
Oh, okay.
So I just have that picture of her.
Okay. Good. All right. How about we go to Leslie?
So I have my sketchbook, my camera, and a book that I read.
Okay.
And I have my camera because I really like taking pictures of a lot of things, and I like sketching, and I guess I like reading, but like once in a while it gets boring, but I really like that book because I can relate to it a lot to the main character, I guess.
Okay. Very good. Monica, are you ready? I know you have a few items.
Okay, so we can't find one of them. She's around the house somewhere.
You can
My
tell us.
mom's looking for her.
Okay.
Okay, he's a Cocker Spaniel.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, so I got a Chiweenie. That's my dog. And then I have Augie. Oh, you want the treats? Piper and Bella do anything for treats, so.
Which dog is that? Which one's that one?
This is a Chiweenie. Augie is somewhere. Let me go get him. Augie.
This is a first for me. I haven't had very many pets in my classroom, but I like it. After Annika, we're going to have Bailey. So just be ready, Bailey, with your stuff.
Hey, can't find both of them.
Oh, that's okay.
Piper.
Annika, which one's your favorite, or do you have one of those dogs your favorite?
Bella, because I've had her for 4 years. Oh, Piper comes. Here comes Pixie. Piper, here. Oh, there's all three. Come on. Get it. Get it. She just got a haircut today, really not too long ago. Here, you can move your screen, sweetie.
Oh, we see her now. We can see her.
Oh, I can't tell from your screen.
Oh, she's cute.
Okay, no. Sorry, we have technical difficulties.
Oh,
here.
that's okay. I can see her just fine. You're good, Annika. Thank you, though. You can let your dogs go play around the house now.
So this is Augie. Wait, he can't. Augie.
Oh, there's the other one. Okay.
He's the biggest one. Augie, you can't have one. You just got tooth surgery.
All right, Annika,
It's cracked.
we're gonna let you get the dogs situated, and we're gonna go. Thanks for sharing your dogs. I like it. I love dogs. Okay, Bailey, are you ready? All right, we don't have Bailey. Okay, Bailey's absent. Tucker, are you ready? Wow, no Tucker. Okay, next is Gracie.
Hi, I brought, tried to, one of my grandma's dogs. He won't stay on my lap. He's a Shiba Inu, I guess. And yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna fight with him to get him up on my lap.
Do you like pets?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Me too. I have 2 dogs, 4 chickens, and 1 rabbit. Technically, the rabbit's not mine. It's my daughter's, but he's still nice. Okay, how about Piper? Piper, where'd you go, Piper?
This is my thing. This is my, really sit down. This is my pet. I just thought I might show around. And then I have the book, Calvin and Hobbes.
Okay. And why does that describe you, that book?
Because I love reading and it has so much humor.
Okay, awesome. All right, Emmett, you are next on the screen. So Emmett, do you have your item?
Yes.
Emmett, there you are. Okay. Go ahead, Emmett.
My computer. Oh, okay. I see my microphone's working.
You're on.
So, what I had, well, it was right next to me, and most of my stuff was at my mom's. I got my 3DS.
Okay. And how does that represent you?
It represents me because I play a ton of games, and I'm pretty good with technology.
Oh, okay. That's great. We need those kind of people, especially with lighting and sound. That's really like a lot of tech.
Yeah, that's mostly why I wanted to do backstage.
Okay. Because you can do that stuff. Nice. Okay. Who did I miss? Did I miss anyone? Did we get everybody that's here? Okay. I think we did. Good job, everyone. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. And it's nice that we can all see your faces. So what we're going to do is, if you guys could hold off your comments, we'll have a little time at the end. We are going to start talking about theater and what it is and what types of things we're going to be doing in theater. So I'm going to show you here my presentation. And don't worry, you don't have to take notes on this or anything. But you might have to know some of this stuff on Friday. Okay, just a hint for the activity we're going to be doing. It's going to be a fun activity. Okay, so this is our daily agenda. We'll go over this pretty much each day. This is also on our Google Classroom. So if you need to go to a Google Classroom and check it out, it's always right here. So if you're absent, definitely take a look here. And then also underneath the classwork section, remember, there's all the activities. Remember to do your syllabus review if you haven't done that already. And then if you haven't done the personal inventory questions that we did the other day in class, the first day of school, be sure to do those so I can just get to know a little bit more about your background in theater, because that will really help me. We're going to start off by going through theater, introduction to theater. But first, I want to see if who here knows the difference between the word theater with an R-E on the end, or theater with an E-R on the end. Anybody? Anybody think they know what the difference is? Okay, Felix, what is it? What do you think it is, Felix?
Well, one place, this is just one example, not necessarily the right example, but it's still an example. So okay. Theater is like more of a stage play, and then theater is more of a cinema, you know? Okay.
That's pretty much
not
right.
That's the best example, but
yeah, so theater and theater. One's a play, one's the actual performance art, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so good. All right, we're going to go through a little video. I'm going to open this video so you guys can see it. And it's just a cute little video about theater. So I'm going to play this and then we'll go ahead and discuss it a little bit after. Oh, we got to get sound though.
I'm Mike Rignetta, and this is the first episode of Crash Course Theater. Welcome. In the episodes to come, we're going to have it all. Tragedy, comedy, history, pastoral, pastoral comical, historical, pastoral, tragical, historical, tragical, comical, historical, pastoral, expialidocious. Yeah, I mean, this series could go on forever. And let me introduce you to Dionysus, the Greek god of theater and wine. I mean, they can't all be charming genius birdmen, I guess. In this series, we'll explore the history of theater and how we can understand and analyze it. We'll take a look at significant plays and performances along the way, but in this episode, we're going to define theater and look at some theories about how it got started. So, prologue over, Act 1, Scene 1, begin. First, let's define theater, the building. A theater is a place in which a play is performed. If you trace the word back to its Greek origins, it literally means the seeing place. It can be big or small, indoors or outdoors, purpose-built or just borrowed. Sometimes plays are performed in spaces that aren't really theaters at all. in a park or a parking lot, on a sidewalk, or in a private home. Theater also refers to the performance of plays and to the body of literature and other documentation that has accompanied it. Some plays, known as closet dramas, aren't even written to be performed, and that's theater too. So are improvised plays that don't have a script, and plays that have a script but don't use words, like some of Samuel Beckett's shorts. A familiar definition is that theater requires at least one actor and at least one audience member, and that definitely covers a lot of stuff. But like, what's an actor? What's an audience member? While most plays use human actors, there are plays performed by robots and laptops with voice synthesizers. There are plays performed by animals and by puppets, though usually there's a human helping out with those. I hope. So is everything theater? If you want a really extensive definition, the composer John Cage said that theater takes place all the time, wherever one is, and art simply facilitates persuading one this is the case. So is this theater? Well, not for you. You're watching a video recorded earlier, but here in this room, I'm performing, right? And there's an audience, if you include Stan and Zulea, watching me. Am I doing theater? Do you guys want to hear my to be or not to be? Yorick, do you want to? They say no every time. A plague on both your houses. What is and isn't theater is a kind of question that can make your head spin. We're going to come back to it a couple times, especially when we talk about political theater and protest theater and immersive theater. But for now, we're going to use a more narrow definition. Theater is a deliberate performance created by live actors and intended for a live audience, typically making use of scripted language. We may meet some exceptions along the way, looking at you, robo-actors, but this will work for now. And before we get too far, let's confront the perennial controversy: should you spell theater with an R-E or an E-R? And the short answer is both of them are fine. R-E is more common outside of the US, but for some folks, this spelling acts as a shibboleth. You may have heard someone say that a theater is a building, but the theater is an art. Or theater is a destination, but theater is a journey. Here at Crash Course, we don't mind either, but we've chosen to stick with ER for consistency. There's no origin story for theater that everyone agrees on, but there are some theories that we can explore. In the West, at least, up until the 6th or 7th century BCE, we didn't have theater as we know it today, but we did have religious ritual, which can get pretty theatrical. Rituals are often ways of mediating between the human and the supernatural. They can serve to enact or reenact significant events in the human or supernatural worlds: births, marriages, deaths, harvests. In ritual, according to the mythology scholar Mircea Eliade, the time of the event that the ritual commemorates or reenacts is made present. So ritual represents, literally represents, old stories or ideas and makes them happen now, which is a lot like what theater does. This doesn't mean that ritual is identical with theater. Ritual is sacred, and theater is usually secular, though not always, as we'll see. Theater and ritual can draw on similar mythological sources, but ritual typically treats those sources as fact, and theater as fiction. In ritual, the audience often participates, and in theater, they usually sit politely, unless there's audience participation, which is universally adored. In the late 19th century, a group of classical scholars decided to search for the origins of theater. They took an anthropological approach and saw theater as a direct evolution of religious ritual. This theory really got going with James Frazer, whom we also discussed in the Crash Course Mythology episode on Theories of Myth. In The Golden Bough, written between 1896 and 1915, Frazer and his contemporaries, the Cambridge Ritualists, which, by the way, is obviously the name of my new band, tried to take a scientific approach to the question of theater's origin. He looked around at so-called primitive societies in Africa and Asia, societies he didn't really know that much about, and decided that theater had emerged as a sophisticated refining of ritual. According to Frazer, here's how it goes. You start out worshiping some kind of god or practice, and that worship gets distilled into rituals to attract the attention of that god or to guarantee good fortune. Once your primitive society really gets going, those rituals then generate myths, and those myths get transmuted into theater. So eventually you arrive at jazz hands, and sequins. As the media theorist Marshall McLuhan puts it, in this view, art became a sort of civilized substitute for magical games and rituals. Art, like game, became a mimetic echo of and a relief from the old magic of total involvement. For an example of the sometimes questionable evidence that the Cambridge ritualists drew on to support their idea that ritual evolved into theater, let's look at the Greek historian Herodotus, writing in the 5th century BCE, describing a ceremony he witnessed in Egypt. Thought bubble? Take the stage. This ceremony occurs at sunset in a temple. Some priests attend to a statue of Ares, but most of the people involved are doing something very different. The majority of them hold clubs made of wood and stand at the temple's entrance, while others make vows. More than 1,000 men, all holding clubs. And those few left behind with the statue pull a 4-wheeled wagon carrying the shrine and the statue which is in the shrine. And the others standing at the front gates do not let them enter. If things seem tense to you, very perceptive, probably the clubs that tipped you off, right? Herodotus says, those who vowed to defend the god strike those resisting. As I understand, many even die from their wounds. The ritual continues all through the night. And as you might, if you were Herodotus, he asks some locals, why the poundings? And they tell him, there lived in this temple Ares' mother, and Ares, who was raised elsewhere, came, after having become a man, wishing to lay with his mother. And the servants of his mother, for not having seen him before, did not look the other way when he entered. Rather, they fended him off, and he, fetching men from another city, handled the servants roughly and went inside to his mother. For this reason, this fight in behalf of Ares at the festival has become a tradition, they say. Thanks, Thought Bubble. So the ritualists look to stories like this to illustrate their idea that worship becomes ritual. Ritual becomes myth, and myth becomes performance. Someone writes a few songs to go along with the skull splitting. Someone else turns the battle into a dance. You let it all simmer for a millennia or two, and voila! West Side Story. This ritualism theory is useful in some ways, and as we'll see in the next episode, it fits very nicely with Greek drama, mostly because the whole theory is pretty much based on Greek drama. That's a welcome fix to how previous generations of scholars viewed Greek drama, as something pure and stately, not as something that might have evolved from passion and magic. But this theory causes problems when you try to apply the history of Greek drama to other dramatic traditions. Fraser and his colleagues didn't actually know all that much about the so-called primitive societies whose theater they wanted to study. The rich and sophisticated cultures the ritualists encountered throughout Africa and Asia were lost on the Cambridge types because Eurocentrism. So they did a lot of pretty non-scientific guessing, working backwards from what they knew about classical theater and hypothesizing about what kinds of rituals may have produced it. Fraser also operates with the underlying belief that all societies basically evolve in the same way, and that even though, in his view, so-called primitive societies are inherently inferior, given enough time and care, they'll get more and more sophisticated until they too can produce cats. Okay, Fraser didn't talk about Broadway musicals, but maybe you're starting to understand a couple of the major problems with this theory and the assumption that all societies are on a trajectory towards Western civilization, which in this view is just getting better and better all the time. This view, by the way, is known as positivism. Another theory that gets going after Fraser is the idea that people create myths out of a desire to explain and rationalize the world around them. In ritualism, myths and theater emerge as a response to pre-existing rituals. But in this other theory, known as functionalism, myths serve an etiological function, a way of explaining how and why things came to be the way they are. According to one of the leading functionalist theorists, Bronislaw Malinowski, myth is a statement of primeval reality which lives in the institutions and pursuits of a community. It justifies by precedent the existing order, Unlike the ritualists, the functionalists didn't assume that all societies operate and evolve in the same way or will create the same kinds of myths. Malinowski didn't really discuss theater, but some of his followers did, and they locked onto the idea that many early Greek dramas have their origins in myth, and some of those myths are etiological. The Orestia explains the legal system. Prometheus Bound explains that liver is tasty. Just kidding. It explains how we get fire and technology. So if myths explain the world and theater is based on myth, we can think about theater as a way of explaining the world to ourselves. But such a view does have some drawbacks. Take one of the very earliest recorded plays, Aeschylus's The Persians. That was based on contemporaneous historical events, not in myth. Besides the ritualists and functionalists, there are a few other theories too. One is that theater derives, at least in part, from the clown figure, who's the sort of secular equivalent of the shaman in early societies. Their job was to make fun of the headman and other establishment figures and practices. We can maybe see this influence in the satyr plays, which we'll visit in the next episode. And it's linked at least a little to the idea that theater may originate from games and the playful instincts of humankind, a phenomenon called the ludic impulse. Another related theory, which really gets going with Aristotle, is that human beings have a mimetic impulse. Humans have an inbuilt desire to imitate, to act, and to pretend, and that's how we learn. According to Aristotle, this desire eventually gets refined and codified into theater. So to sum up, ritual, myth, clowning, playing games, playing pretend, somehow out of all of this, or maybe out of none of it, we get Hamilton. And now let's turn to our last question for today. Why should we care? Everybody's favorite question. In other words, why does theater matter? Well, that's a question we're going to be coming back to throughout the series as we see how and why people make theater and the impact it has throughout history. But let me leave you with one idea, borrowed from Percy Bysshe Shelley. The highest moral purpose aimed at in the highest species of the drama is the teaching the human heart through its sympathies and antipathies, the knowledge of itself. Thanks for watching, and curtain. Crash Course Theater is produced in association with PBS Digital Studio.
That might have been confusing for some of you all. We will watch a few of the Crash Course Theater videos throughout this semester. That one's a little long, but it kind of does give you an overview of theater history and what is theater. But we're going to go into the basics here. We'll make this really easy to understand. So part one we're going to talk about today is called producing the play. So we have two parts, producing the play and then obviously being in and acting the play. So first off, some of you have said you guys want to do some of these areas. So producing the play is a great area to explore your design ideas. Some people have lighting, technology, managing backstage. I think a few of you said you wanted to work backstage. Publicity matters, so putting up posters around the school or in the community, and then just all of the things that go into actually producing the actual play. And so that's what we're going to be covering this semester, and so we're just going to do a brief overview. If you have a question, just put it in the chat and I'll try to answer it, but let's keep the chat for the questions, okay? So we can answer any questions that come up that people might have about theater or theater here at North, okay? So producing the play. We have a production staff when you're in a play, okay? And some of you have been in plays before, so you probably know who these people are. The director, which is usually me, and they are in charge of all aspects of a play. Then you'll have a student director. I always have a 9th grader who's my student director. They usually have some 2 or 3 years of experience. They act as my assistant director and they basically help me with the cast and the crew. And it's usually someone as one of my students who is interested in directing maybe at Boise High or is directing as like going to college and studying that. And then we have a scenic designer and they are in charge of set design and construction. So in my old school, I used to have a big scene shop. It looked like a big garage. And inside it had tools and construction items, and we could build some really big sets like you saw the other day. Here, we don't have the luxury of that, but we do have some really awesome sets that I got from Beauty and the Beast that were donated to me a couple years ago. And I just haven't got to use them because we didn't get our play in the spring. But once you guys get back, I'll show you where those are, and they're actually really, really nice. Stage manager, that is the person kind of backstage. They take charge of all the rehearsals. So they're back there making sure everybody's doing their part, making sure everybody's ready for their cues, all the props are in the right location. They're, I think, almost more important than the director because they're back there making sure everything runs smoothly, okay? Directors usually, I see Joseph, you had a comment there. Directors, I usually have that be the 9th graders because they have the most experience, but you never know. We'll see how everything goes with this semester. Stage hands, if you've been in a play or seen a play, sometimes you see people moving sets on and off. That's our stage hands. Usually they're in like all black and they have micro headsets on so they can communicate and they move things across the stage and put them on and off. Some of my former students who are in college over at Boise State, they got hired to be a stagehand for Wicked when it came, and they got paid a lot of money to move the sets in and out. So kind of an extra job you could have in college. Costumes manager, they are in charge of managing and creating, maybe if you have sewing skills, that you would create the costumes and manage the costumes, organize them. When you guys get back here, I'll show you my costume area. I'm pointing towards it, but you can't see that room. But it's a really big room and it's organized right now. Sometimes it can be a big mess with costumes everywhere, but we have them all labeled and organized. So our person who's involved in charge of the costumes, they're in charge of that area. And then we have our properties manager. They're in charge of organizing and obtaining any props that we would need for the play itself. And so props are just small items, not the bigger items. So if you needed a broom or if you needed a telephone as a prop or a book, those are the types of items that the props manager is in charge of. And then we have our publicity manager, and they are in charge of promoting the play. So those students that are in charge of publicity, they will make a commercial for the North News, a poster to put up around the walls. If you were here, I'd show you some posters, but you're not because I have them all on the back wall. But when you guys get back, you can check out some of our posters. Boise High, their publicity people come over and they bring posters to me too, so they can put them up and promote the posters. So if you're really good at that type of thing, we'll definitely get in touch with you. And then we got our technical crew, which is lights, sounds, special effects, those types of things. And then we have our house manager. These students usually are my drama club students, and they're in charge of actually the physical space, like the actual theater itself. So taking tickets, seating people, handing out programs. If we have sales of like concession sales, they do all of that. And I know over at Boise High, if you go and see any plays over there, they have somebody in charge of their house manager because they have a really nice new ticket booth and things like that. Okay, we have a couple different types of theater that we're going to be doing in this class. The first one is called informal theater, okay? And informal theater gives the performer an opportunity to gain experience without requiring any time, expense, or anything else involved in a formal production. So basically, this is something that anybody can do at any time, okay? And the first type is called improvisation. So who can tell me what improvisation is, or improv? Anybody have improv? Piper, do you know what it is?
Improv is when you make something up on the spot, like you say, so somebody forgets a line and you like make up a line instead for that.
Yes, exactly. That it's used for a lot of different things. Improvisation, we'll just go to that, is working without a script, just like Piper said. You kind of say whatever comes to mind, responding to your other fellow actors, making up things as you go. It's an informal act, and it gives you an opportunity to work together kind of informally. We're going to be doing some of this next week, so be ready for that. It's kind of fun, but it's also nerve-wracking. It helps you develop your imagination, be more self-confident. And then if it came to a point where in a play, you had to make something up on the spot because someone forgot their lines, or maybe they're trying to get their costume on still and you're waiting for them to come on. It's happened before. You have to kind of improv and make stuff up that makes sense in the play. So we'll be practicing some of that next week. I just encourage you guys all to try it. We're all not going to be great at it. I am horrible at improv. It's actually something that kind of stresses me out because I'm a planner and I like to prepare and have a script in front of me, but I still make myself do it because I think it will help me grow as an actor. So we have improvisation. There's a couple things that you need to remember when you're doing improv, and we'll go over these again next week when we start doing our improv. The first thing is it is still acting, okay? Even though you don't have an actual script with you, it is still a form of acting, okay? And it includes 3 different types of elements. Number 1, a dramatic situation, so like a storyline. Usually it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has dialogue, unless you're doing a pantomime, so you're talking to one another. And then you should have a character. If I was just up there being Mrs. Right, that'd be pretty boring. So instead of me just acting like myself, I need to have some sort of a character. And usually for these first ones that I give you, I'll give you specific things for these so that you know what type of character you're going to be, because we want to make sure we're working on our characterization. There's a couple different approaches to improv. First off is the number 1 is character-centered. So character-centered is focusing on the character. Hey guys, make sure we're asking questions in the chat, okay? If you want to have a side conversation, you can have that later. We don't have time for that right now. I'm trying to watch questions on both screens, so if you can just wait till the end, we'll answer questions or open it up for any comments too, okay? If you need to step out, just let me know and then step out and just come back quickly because we're almost done here. We will take a break right after this. So character-centered is focusing on the character, different types of characters, okay? Situation-centered improv. It's focusing on a situation or an event or a place of time. Okay, so those are the 2 basic approaches to improv. Remember, all improvisation should have a storyline, because if not, it's going to be kind of not making sense, right? It should have a beginning, middle, and an end. It should tell us in the beginning who's in the scene, who are the characters, where are they at. The middle, this is where most of the information is. The characters, they tell us what they want, what they need, and then an end of the scene, usually wrapping it up and telling us how it ends, okay? So that's basically the parts of improvisation. We will go over next week the tips for improv and our rules, because we're not going to go over those today because we're not going to actually do an improv activity. But next week, we'll do a reminder of what improv is, because we'll have some time to do that next week. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to give you a 5-minute break, because I know we've been sitting, right? We need to probably use the restroom, take a stretch break, whatever. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes so you can turn your camera off, and then we're going to meet right back here at 1:55, and we'll have an activity that we're going to do. So if you guys could go ahead and take a quick break, and then just make sure you're right back here. You can turn off your camera if you want and stand up and stretch, whatever you need to do.